Look, I am yet to come across anyone who says that, look, my landlord has reduced rent, following the following the
macroeconomic gains you talked about.
Exactly. I don't know if
the
anyone
stability we are feeling.
Precisely.
Prices are going down.
Precisely.
The currency is doing fairly
well. The city is doing well with the Palongo and Agbaja so far it's stable.
Interest rates may go down further.
Exactly.
So your expectations are high.
Precisely.
But the reality.
Oh no. If your landlord has reduced your rate, let me know. If you're a landlord and you have staggered your rents for your tenants, let me also know.
I think the question should be, has it ever? Yes.
As a result of...
You have to set ever in it. Has your landlord ever reduced your rent?
Called you to say, listen, this year so far, cement prices have gone down. We are seeing the trade minister always engaging the cement manufacturers, and we are told that, listen, inputs of... prices of about 10 building inputs have reduced.
What are some of these inputs? Cement will be one.
So cement is on there. I'm told roofing sheets have gone down as well. Let me get you that story. It's
roofing
on
sheets?
Yeah. Okay, let me just bring you the story so I'm accurate on that. There are even toiletries like sanitary products for construction have gone down. So prices of 10 building inputs have fallen. What's next for your project? Emmanuel Opon is writing on CitiNewsroom.com. Story says, for the first time in almost 2 years, the prices of core construction materials in Ghana are no longer the main drivers of rising building costs. New data from the Ghana Statistical Service reveal that a broad range of construction inputs either fell in price or remained largely stable in 2025, offering relief to builders after a prolonged period of steep cost escalation. So key among the list are reinforcement bars. I don't know what that is. Reinforcement bars.
Reinforcement bar, yeah.
Reinforcement bar. Okay. And then there are cement is also on the table. These are two of the most critical and expensive building materials: reinforcement bars and then cement. These two have gone down. The other inputs that have gone down are reinforcement prices declined by 7.3% year on year. Cement prices fell by 5.1%, and that's marking a clear turning point in construction affordability. But the relief goes beyond headline materials. Prices of burglar proofing are dropped by 3.8%. Small tools. My phone is
the phone is giving you stress.
Yeah, small tools. Can
you forward it to me?
And okay, so roofing sheets. Roofing sheets are down by 1.9%, according to Prime Building Cost Index for December 2025. Plumbing materials also recorded 0.5% decline, while toilet accessories fell by 0.4%. Other commonly used inputs showed signs of stability rather than inflation. So ironmongery, such as lock and hinges, fine aggregates, metal work, these all posted marginal increases of 0.3%, 0.4%, and 0.7% respectively. And then essentially flat compared with the sharp jumps seen in 2023 and 2024. So together, these 10 items, Bernard, 10 items dubbed cost cutters of 2025 account for the significant share of everyday construction spending, particularly in residential and small commercial projects. So if you are building, a lot of gains for you. Now, the easing in material costs helped push overall building input inflation down to 4.4% in December 2025. So,
yeah, but have they given us? Did they give us the how long the prices have been coming down?
Okay.
Because the thing about building a house, which I know, is that it's a long-term project.
Yeah.
Number two, so the prices have fallen, but by what extent?
Okay.
Number three, building materials cost is just one part of the cost of building a house. Land is another issue. Access to finance to build a house is another issue. Okay. Number four, do we have an index that shows how many new houses have been built over the same period? Because the issue about rent is a demand and supply issue. In fact, there's even more. The fact that even new houses are built doesn't mean that new rental accommodation is available, because people can decide to build a house and use it for a kiosk, a shop. They can build a house and use it for a school or a church. So I'm saying that there's too many factors that I feel it's a bit premature to start expecting landlords to lower their prices on the basis that some building materials have come down. I mean, I feel like it's completely too optimistic.
Is it?
The Minister for Housing 2 days ago said Ghana has a housing deficit of 1.8 million units. It could actually be more. These things are very conservatively measured. The truth is that until the government, private sector decide that the middle to low income housing is something that should be catered for, and until there's available financing for house ownership, we will never solve this problem. Ghana is a cash-based economy, so whether it's buying cars or even renting a house, everything you have to pay cash. In most societies, there are payment terms, you have credit. So there's a lot of things. So I feel like it's a bit, I mean, it's a good thing to explore.
We've not seen enough
to say that, oh yes, building materials are coming down and things. But I feel these are structural problems. And then there's also the behavioral dimension, right? Where Ghanaians arbitrarily price, it's a seller's market. The landlord can say, if you won't pay, free me fee. Because in fact, you can get a house today at a Belingbe. And tell the guy you are coming tomorrow. If you don't go by 11 o'clock, somebody will go at 10 o'clock and take it. So you don't solve structural problems by a few price reductions which are not even sustained. So
these have been this level. Okay, so the story says largely in 2025 the prices have been stable around these rates.
I mean, even with the currency being a bit stronger, building materials imported are also cheaper. Right, but I feel like the real question government needs to ask is, how do you incentivize private sector people to invest in housing for people who work, middle to low income people?
Exactly.
That's what because you will go to parts of this city, people have put up rental apartments that nobody's living in for 3 years.
Empty.
A market like that will not think about an ordinary person, because if you can have a house at cantonment, part of it is a store of value, part of it is washing money which is from illegal sources, part of it is basically whatever. So you cannot expect if somebody can put up an apartment in cantonment and for 3 years not have a tenant and still be okay, you think that private sector money will go into building a house for a fresh university graduate? So and the government's approach of let me build the houses, it's also not worked. Saglem is a big example. I think what they need to do is to incentivize people who have money, whether it's the land tenure they will use to incentivize them or some tax breaks to say, look, build houses within the range of, say, I don't know, $10,000 to $25,000 per unit. And then talk to financial institutions that can work with companies for people to have a payment plan, because now the currency is relatively stable. You get it? Give them Citi mortgages. Then you are having a conversation. Landlords will keep doing this for the long, and you can't use law to change. You can't. You're a lawyer here. Is there a law that can force me to rent my house to you? You can't do that. You have to work on the economics part. Law is strong, but law can't do everything. You can use policy to incentivize people. You can use law to protect people who are weak from being cheated. But you cannot use law to tell somebody what to do as an independent economic agent on how to sell his house. So it's not going to work. And I feel like I listen to the housing minister and they all mean well. They come and it's almost like there's a template that's been given to them. So that template is when you come, what do? Oh, affordable housing. We are putting up X units. We are doing this. We
never finish. We abandon old ones and start new projects, because if you go all across the country from Tamale to Koforidua to Saglemeho, everywhere you go, there's a certain government housing project that was supposed to be affordable that has stalled midway because along the way there was a new government and they had to also start a new project. There was some allegations of corruption were being probed, never ended. And the regular people are still struggling.
I don't think that is far-fetched when governments go for the affordable housing projects. The world over, especially in Europe, the target for affordable housing is real. And so I think that is in the right direction when governments in governmental go for the affordable housing project.
Yeah.
But here's the missing link. They always skip the local assemblies in the planning.
Okay.
The district assemblies, metropolitan assemblies. You see, you can't provide for the needs of the community over and above the
Local
operations
authority.
of the local authority. And what we have done over the years is to weaken the essence of the local assemblies so that we can strengthen our power and decision-making
At the
abilities
center.
at the center. That's what governments are excited about. So, when you chose to, if you like, do a project for affordable housing, let's say Adenta, what was the role of the Adenta Municipal Assembly?
Right.
How are they involved? What is their supervisory responsibility? What are the follow-through activities?
Right.
How are we going to make sure it's sustained within the context and the purpose for which it's built? These things are always missing. So we look at it as a transaction.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go. We want to do Saglemi. We got somebody who is building, we pay the money
We
and the
do
person,
shortcuts
and then we build the thing and we leave.
Headlines.
And then from the day you inaugurate it or you commission it, it starts deteriorating.
Yeah.
So this is where we are. Let's strengthen our local assemblies. And strengthen is not just in words. Let's overhaul the whole system so that we can integrate it with the National Development Plan.
Yeah.
But this isolated development agenda from political parties and governments, this is what has brought us where we are. Everybody comes. No, you see, I believe that once a new government takes over, their first assignment is to sit through 1 month of education from the National Development Planning Commission. I'm telling you, their orientation, there has to be a 1 month where they are exposed to the grand plan for Ghana by the authorized and mandated body so that we can all be aligned to the general direction of the Ghana strategy.
Yeah.
It's not somebody travels to some country, sees tomatoes, now we want to do tomatoes. Then everybody is doing their own thing. Meanwhile, there's a plan. But no matter how grand the plan is, our direction of sidestepping, overstepping the district assemblies for whatever it's worth, I think that is what has brought us here.
Oh, someone is educating me here. The reinforcement material I refer to is simply iron rods. Iron rods has, upgraded name that I didn't know. So Bernard thinks, look, it's too early for us to expect some reduction in the rent regime, right? But I firmly think that, look, landlords are living here too with us, and if for nothing at all, sometimes it's not even the amount they're asking for, is the insistence on 2 years rent advance. I mean, times are a lot better now. If you made it a bit more flexible, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, it's easier on the pocket for a lot of young people and young families, because I think for a lot of people, rent is the major part of their household budget. And if you're able to figure out a way to crack that code, it would make life a lot more easier for many people. And I think the government should really, really be interested in how to engage in the space, have the relevant conversations with the relevant authorities to make sure that as we are trying to make transport easier, we're bringing down fuel prices and all, we should also care about where the people lay their heads. In building the affordable housings, we've had all the challenges we've enumerated, that is true. But with the private sector too, how do we ensure that we engage and there's some reasonableness? That would be very much appreciated. Don't you think so? Kaka, is it too early? Are we asking for too much? That landlords, they should look inside the system for us, while government also engages all the relevant sector players. Let's do the affordable thing. But in the meantime, Charlie, some relief.
I largely agree with the things that Bernard said, but I have one point of disagreement. I'll get to that later. Because listening to Uncle Sam, I was excited when he brought in the conversation about the National Development Planning Framework. Okay. As it stands, that framework, which has spelled out the plans for the transformational development of this country, is merely advisory. I do not readily know the position of the CRC, the Constitution Review Committee, as to whether or not the NDPC framework should be binding on governments. Over the years, it's just merely been advisory, guiding policy and how and regulation and how government goes about it. But for a government, Al-Qassam, to be bound by the plans written down in this report by the Constitution, it should be a constitutional mandate. I think that it will be. I was trying to find that quickly from the Constitution Review Committee, but I'm yet to see that. But I think that would have been the way going forward, so that all these housing projects will not be quickly rushed ideas by political parties.
Properly aligned with the national
flag
vision.
bearers trying to win power, but will be exactly as you've said, properly aligned with the national vision. That being said, and that is yet to be done. So clearly, it's a government failure. The political interest always rears its ugly head in our governance. But the question for me is, when there's a failure by the state or the government, what then happens to the common man? What then happens to the rest of us? I think that where the government has failed, that is when we have a moral duty to come in and intervene on our own behalf. Because if Fred asked the question this morning when we were discussing this, that what is it that you are doing as a Ghanaian or as a member of the Ghanaian community that you make sure doesn't affect the next person, or you couldn't be bothered if it affects the next person? And that's for me is the question. When landlords are making their decisions, okay, I get the point Bernard makes about new rental projects. It may be too soon to consider these 10 lists of items, building items. You say the prices have gone down. But what about the macroeconomic gains that we're told about? What about the exchange rates doing fairly well, the stability? A lot of businesses, SMEs will attest to the stability and how it's making sense. Because usually the landlord's claim is that the CD is not doing well.
That's always the catch, isn't it? It's a big
inflation
one.
is high.
Oh, my Lord.
But the story is different now. So
let's
my
see the
expectation
change.
would have been a certain moral duty as a Ghanaian to be considerate of your fellow Ghanaian who's also a consumer of one product or another. We are consuming water, we are consuming electricity, fuel, etc. So that when the supposed reasons for your increment appear to be going down, the humane thing to do is to try and reduce it so that the person can also get some respite. Instead of trying to build on the gains and maximize the profit you're going, it should be a windfall for everybody. And so it comes back to me as the character of the person called the Ghanaian. And our character, unfortunately, I don't take myself out, is molded and shaped by greed instead of humanity for one another.
Yeah, it's very important. But on the flip side too, I also know, I've engaged landlords who say, look, I don't take 2 years. I don't even take 1 year. Just pay me at the end of the month. And tenants
in Ghana here.
Yeah. There are some landlords like that. But the tenants will live there. They will not pay, and they will even not maintain the property for you. So it's a two-way thing. But of course, for the most part, we're on the side of the tenants for now. The landlord should reduce the tip for the boys to feel free small.
Because I was going, so that's why I was asking in Ghana here. For me, it's about the how disproportionate this is.
Absolutely.
You often have the landlords demanding a year's rent or 2 years rent. Hardly will you find in Ghana here. It may happen, as you say, but I'm yet to experience that. But yes, I've encountered a landlady who was charging just 6 months.
Right.
And if you wanted to go beyond that, you were at liberty to do so. But it also comes back to the market, as Bernard said. The market is such that it favors the landlord or the seller because the demand is high. You talked about the 1.8 million housing deficit. You see, and that again is a government failure because that's a problem that they always update us on, but the solutions never get home.
Sometimes what could explain this? Because we have housing deficit here. Nigeria has housing deficit. Kenya does. Uganda does. Housing deficit across the continent. But the 2-year phenomenon seems to be very unique to Ghana. My friends in Nigeria say they pay, I think, 3 months. Kenya say they pay every other month. After every month you pay, you just have to pay that security deposit thing, and then you're good. So yes, we have a housing deficit of 1.8 million. That's okay. But this 2 years business, what's
I
the
think it's
story
a demand
behind
and
it?
supply issue. It's just a demand and supply. If tenants have options, if tenants have options, we wouldn't be where we are. Okay, that's one. And again, you have everybody moving to Accra. Everybody moving to Accra. So definitely the demand
Outstrip supply.
you understand? I mean, in an exponential manner. So once you have a situation like that, the seller is too strong. And if you refuse the offer, the next person is taking the offer anyway. I mean, to the extent that the policy maker has not been able to manage the dollarization of rents as we speak. House owners, estate owners are still quoting rents in dollars. Blatantly, they are not hiding it.
Yeah. Sometimes even on the outskirts of Accra.
That's what I'm saying, that they are quoting. And the system hasn't made any public example of the punishment that it comes with. All they do is to advise.
I remember there was an announcement like that from
advise
BOG.
them. Is it illegal? If it's illegal, let's go after them.
Calm down on that.
Because you see, until we send the strong signal along these lines, people will go for their own comfort and convenience.
For me, I agree with that, but I come back to the economic point. For me, I see, Sky is not here, but Francisca is here. Law people, they always want to enforce and sort of...
Oh, but the enforcement is coming from...
I know. I said a bit of behavioral economics. It's about incentives. So for me, look, Ghana, we are cash-based. It's the finance, okay? When we talk finance, there are two issues. Construction finance, okay? Where is money coming from for long-term construction finance? So if I want to go into real estate development for people at the low end, at what interest rate will I get the credit? Now, if even 40% of what I'm buying is from abroad, I may need a mix of local and foreign finance. Okay. Now, I'm going to sell or rent those houses in cities. So there are issues that have to be dealt with around the materials I'm using being local, so that my cost will be local. Because if I'm going to buy in dollars to build a house and sell in cities, it's not going to work. So whilst, yes, you have to enforce, and indeed, this central bank has tried to reduce the dollarization. But dollarization is not just a question of enforcement, it's a question of incentives. Now, in the past, people have said, does the government itself believe in its own currency? Okay. It's very important. So if you don't deal with the question of cost of funds for construction finance on the supply side, you're not going to have sustainable, so-called affordable housing even available, which is why he says it's a demand and supply issue. So the supply side is very important. People like Grader and Co., there has to be ways in which the government incentivizes them, gives them, I don't know whether it's tax breaks or whatever, so that their cost of construction will be low. Now, why is Ghana different from Kenya and Nigeria? I think our land tenure is the worst.
That's an important
so
part of the story.
if he's going to build a house at his level in Nigeria or Kenya, he won't pay 6 chiefs. But here he has to. So one of the reasons why people who own property price the way they do, take the money up front, is the cost of putting up a house is too high. Indeed, per square meter, to build per square meter in Accra is more expensive than even Johannesburg.
So build per square meter in Accra is more expensive.
So you see, sometimes and I'm not here to defend people who are building, but what I'm saying is that the economics of housing, we haven't figured it out. And I'm not even finished on the supply side. Now let's come to the demand side.
Yeah.
We are people in Ghana. I remember I was reading a survey done by one of the financial institutions on what are people's financial priorities. Most people don't intend to pay back loans when they borrow. So they ask people, it was Old Mutual also, they asked people in a survey, when you have money, what are your priorities? Oh, I want to help my relative, I want to save. Most people are not interested in paying back loans. They are, people, when you send them mumu, somebody says, Saman, have me mumu. When you send to the others, oh, why you send to that number? Oh, why? Because they can here MTN, you must mama pay. So somebody who doesn't even have money, he doesn't intend to pay back. Now translate that into why, if I am a landlord, I want to take my money up front. If the behavior of Ghanaian borrowers is that we will borrow, we will not pay, why will I want to ask you to pay me every month? You see, so sometimes we say it's the people who are selling, and I'm here to say the behavior of the Ghanaian lender is also an issue. Doesn't
warrant that stress.
I haven't even finished. Financial institutions as well are not prepared to go into the mortgage market the way they ought to. All right, and part of that is because a lot of those who build, a lot of their costs are in dollars, and the finance is in cedis. So that's part of the stability. But even the financial institution itself, the incomes of Ghanaians are very low. Okay, so if somebody says I'm even building a house and selling it to you at $25,000, at the time the dollar was so expensive that even if you are earning 8,000 Ghana cedis, you can't get a proper mortgage. If they give you a dollar mortgage and even give you an interest rate of even 4 or 5%, it's exorbitant because you already have FX loss. Now, city mortgages, the interest rates are over 30%. So what I'm saying is that the financial architecture of Ghana, the economics and the finance, and then our behavior makes it almost impossible for people to have reasonable housing. So whilst I agree that we have to enforce rules around FX, I think the more sustainable thing to do is to think of finding alternative building materials. So, for example, the company in Takrady that does toilets, you need more companies that do fixtures and fittings. In a competitive, because the other thing is that even if you do it in Ghana, if a Chinese person can bring it cheaper to you, that's another issue. You get it? So, Papa, it's a very complicated situation. I feel like we are not being fair to landlords all the time. I own property. I've rented it out. And for 2 years, I haven't increased rent.
Oh, God bless you. It's good.
Why? Because the tenant I have looks after the house well, and some basic repairs, he may do it. Now, if every week he calls me, fan is broken, light is broken, come and fix me too, I'll raise this. You understand? So of course mine is not a very normal situation, but a lot of landlords,
I hope he's listening. Papa live there forever.
a lot of landlords take the position they take because, as you said, tenants, to the way they treat houses is some way. Every 2 weeks you have to fix something. Where I live now, I don't own it. I hardly call the landlord and ask him for anything. If something gets bad, I replace it. Because I also own property. So now my mindset towards being a tenant. So if we want to discuss why Ghanaian landlords do the way, if you don't deal with the economic issues, and the economy is more long term, that affects the finance. And the finance then has behavioral issues. If Ghanaians will also change their attitude to paying their loans on time, which bank will come up with a mortgage product for you when you go and do Wagadri and change your name and run away and not pay? So, Caleb, I feel it's too short a time for you to expect landlords to change their behavior. If government really wants to crack housing, I'm not an expert, but what I'll say to them is that land tenure must be number one. If you reduce the barrier of acquiring land for private developers, I think that's the first stage towards lowering their costs. Number two, cheaper building materials in a more sustained way, whether you get them from China, whether you are going to manufacture them in Ghana or you are going to import them from Italy, you have to have a cheaper. And number three, the banking institutions must be, because the governor has said that now MPC rate is 15%. Generally, interest rates are trending down. Let's see it trend down for another 6 to 8 months. When it becomes a hard trend, then we can follow. Because for now, because of the history of our finance in the past 7 or 8 years, a lot of people are still waiting and seeing. So you can't expect people to start. If you go to a bank today, you are looking for a loan. Unless it's one of those specialized 10% ones, you will still get it in the 20s. You get it? So because you don't deal with structural, that's why I tell politicians that stop announcing short-term gains as success and stop announcing intentions as achievements. Because structural problem, you can announce it in the newspaper. You just look at you and laugh.
Also reflect.
Yeah, because
Immediately.
a structural problem is something that has taken time. It's taking time to build.
Yeah.
So if you are going to change, and then the behavioral issues.
Yeah.
If we don't change our behavior in terms of our willingness to pay back our loans, cost of credit in Ghana is high because there's always a premium on the Ghanaian who doesn't want to pay back.
Aloski, let me tell you something. I agree with everything that you said, okay, because it actually gives us a wider overview of the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, but my point about this last point you made about Ghanaians not wanting to pay back loans, it's not just in Ghana.
Right.
It's not just Ghana. Everywhere people take loan, they don't want to pay.
Junkery.
The difference is that there are punitive measures that apply when you refuse or when you delay in other countries,
Right.
such as to disincentivize
Correct.
people
That's a nice way.
who would want to
Yeah.
go that path.
Abscond.
Most Ghanaians, when they travel outside, they fall into this pit because they think that it's
They've
like
gotten
Ghana.
away with it in Ghana. Yeah.
They think it's Ghana. So a lot of Ghanaians, when they move to the US, to the UK, other parts of Europe, their first casualty is credit card. Because the moment they see that credit card and they start using, the moment you default, what will happen to you next time when you see credit card coming from the west, you run to the east.
So you see the behavior
You
part.
see, yeah. So you see everywhere, but they have institutionalized the punishment. In Ghana, as you say, why did we do the addressing system, the digital addressing system, so that we can identify where people live, so that the banks can now own the identities and track. But what happened to it? We don't even use it. Even in government communications, we don't use the digital addresses anymore.
It's an afterthought.
You understand? So we don't see how all these things come
Are
together
connected.
to give us a better economy.
Yeah.
The addressing systems
Yeah.
and identity, the card thing, everything,
Yeah.
it adds to the value that is given into the economy. But we don't do it. We don't use it.
Yeah.
So we still want to live in 1970.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to live in 1970.
If you don't know where people
So
live,
that when you go to the bank, they'll take paper and draw where you live.
yeah.
In 2026.
I mean, meanwhile,
difficult.
you have a Ghana card. Now, you see, I feel like we are making progress because now,
Yeah.
any serious thing you want to do in Ghana, you need
They
a
ask for
Ghana
a
card.
Ghana card, yes.
Everybody who has a Ghana card has a Momo number.
True.
Generally speaking, whether you are going for health insurance or tax, your Ghana card can be your TIN number. I feel like this year and next year is a very important year. If we can tie all the loose ends, know where people live, know what phone number they use,
Yeah.
and know their identity, you can do a lot of things,
Yeah.
including catching loan defaulters, including
And punishing them.
yes,
Dealing with them.
yes. So now, if you want, even I'll tell you something unrelated. Even with registration of cars now, they are being a bit more strict because they are talking about using your biometrics. They said that only you know, in the past people registered cars in certain ways that allow people to steal cars and even not register their cars. I feel like our biggest challenge because of our behavioral problem is to use technology to digitalize and cut out fraud within most of our processes. If you're able to do that, the country will be more
We
productive.
sanitize the
Yeah,
system.
because people are not paying tax. People are doing so many wrong things because they are hiding, and that anonymity is affecting productivity. Formalization is not a Western term. Formalization unleashes productivity. A lot of people think that when they say, and I understand that informality has its advantages, right? I trust you, you trust me, you give me money, and I'll pay. But you can't run a country based on informality. No country has advanced where most things are done informal. And when we say formality, means that it's process management. I was reading something yesterday. A manager doesn't manage people, you manage processes. And it's the same for managing a country. You can't say someone don't wake up in the morning and eat. But if you create a system that forces him to behave in a certain way, he will do it. So you don't call him and advise him as to what to do. You put in place something that the only way to get to Medina is to go through Legon. Unless you fly. So you are not saying Samens. You don't wake up and say Samens, please, when you are going to Medina, pass Legon. You make it impossible for him to get to Medina
without going to
Lagos. So that's what is process management. That's what economic management is.
We don't do that.
You do it, and I feel like the digital economy. So communications guys, these agencies like National Health Insurance Scheme, DVLA, these are the people who can cut out the Wagadri Ghanaian. Then you can begin to have better credit. Then the banks will have a bit more comfort. Then you will have government. I mean, look at how people lend Maslock and all those things, and you don't know where the money goes. You get it? If you don't put in place a system of finding where people are, you will never solve this problem of informality. And if you don't solve informality, all of us will suffer for it.
It's a big problem. In fact, I was listening to a conversation by one of the tax men in the country on the tax reforms. They were talking about the fact that we have about a 60% gap, the number of Ghanaians who are not paying taxes. It was that huge, and I was very concerned. And the point when he was talking about the reforms, in fact, if you are a business and you earn less than 75,000, you're an SM, you don't fall below the, you don't pay at all. And some of the rates were like 35 cedis for the whole year. And his point was that if it's so small that if all of us complied, we'll be making so much we don't need to go to IMF.
The previous government missed the trick. The e-levy was the wrong approach. You have 27 million Momo accounts. I feel like they went too quickly for e-levy. I think they should have studied the system, understood, because if you take the average Ghanaian now, he hardly does banking transactions. He will do Momo. He can even send money from Momo to his bank. That Momo is a treasure trove of knowing a person's income level.
True.
I don't have the solution as to how they can figure it out, but I think there's an answer there which was not an e-levy answer. There's a different way, but I feel like if you look at the amount of transactions that go through that system of informality, you can find a way of collecting people's taxes, making people pay tax. That can help build an economy. I don't know whether it's a Ghana card they need to use, whether it's the Momo companies that have to talk to them. There's something there that people are not really talking about, because everybody in Ghana understates their income. Nobody's salary is enough for the things they do. You go to housing estates outside Accra, most of the guys who are owning those houses, they have government cars with green registration numbers. The guy's salary,
you blow their cover.
I mean, you know, how is he able to afford to live where he lives and even have an extra house? You get it? If the government is serious about, and there's something we were taught when we started economic journalism, follow the money. If you want to, this is why I see the government themselves, because a lot of them, they own houses, politicians, they don't want to do property tax, they are not interested. If a government is really broke and they really want money to develop the country,
they will be serious about it. They will be serious about it.
So the solutions are not anywhere. We don't need a consultant anywhere. If we don't have money in this company, he knows what to do for us to get money. It's the same thing for a country. You see, you know where the money is. People are building houses in places. I think the informality thing, so the communication guys, the Ghana card people are very critical. If we are serious about, and if you solve those problems, everything opens up.
It trickles down.
Everything opens up. So we will suffer and pay 2 years advance because all of us are trying to trick each other.
Let me bring you some messages. This one says, KK from Ashima, New York, says, my tenants haven't paid the 120 Ghana cedis a month for a chamber and hall with a porch for almost 2 years. And I am ejecting them. I've taken them to rent control. Police have taken my money, and still not a cedi has been paid. I go sack them by force. Starting this weekend, they owe ECG too. Hey, I have reported them, and no action has been taken from the ECG side. They say I have to pay. So if you are a tenant, you live in KK's house, it's a chamber and hall porch. You've been there for 2 years. This weekend, they are coming to sack you.
But Kaka, you see, in another world, there's always an eviction clause in the tenancy agreement. Okay, so I go sack them that you are telling us. What does your tenancy agreement say? That if you default for X number of months, this is what it means. Either there's a penalty or, you know, it has to be stipulated.
For the most part, people don't even sign tenancy agreements.
No, some of the land, house owners, they don't even want to go into agreement.
Yes, it gets binding.
You know, they don't want anything. me or papa or the law. You know, that's how they go.
Sometimes you have
Exactly.
to protect them like this person.
Exactly.
And another thing is, they don't want to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of them, they don't want to know about taxes.
that's true.
And that's a problem.
See, that's the issue there. Now, 4 years straight, and my landlord still hasn't touched the rent. 2-bedroom apartment at 700 Ghana cedis, and his logic is no renovation, no increase. The man deserves a standing ovation. You have to protect your landlord very well. He's a national treasure, man. Good morning, Caleb. One point I find concerning in the message you shared regarding rent is that many landlords make little to no upgrades or renovations to their properties year after year, yet continue to increase rent. In some cases, tenants even invest in improving these spaces, only to subsequently face rent hikes. On a separate matter, residents of St. Peter's in Obojo have been without water from the Ghana Water for some time now. We would appreciate it if you could reach out to Ghana Water on our behalf to inquire about the issue. Ezekiel Young, thank you for that. Ghana Water, please. Obojo people say they've not had water for some time.
I have a quick comment on the commentary about the NDPC framework. This is coming from Kweku Entry-Boisiako, is with the Constitution Review Committee.
Right.
So I'll try and summarize. It says the committee is proposing, so this is the proposal with respect to making the plans binding.
Sure.
So it says the committee is proposing constitutional changes to make Ghana's development planning serious, binding, and enforceable. Parliament will be required to approve a long-term national development plan up to 25 years, prepared and monitored by the NDPC. The NDPC would coordinate and track progress while manifestos and local governments implement. The president would submit an annual report to Parliament on progress, and the finance minister would have to show clearly how the national budget aligns with the development plan. Political parties and presidential candidates would also be required to submit costed manifestos showing how their policies advance national development goals. The NDPC would not judge policies, only certify whether they align with the national plan, leaving final judgment to voters.
Good one there. More messages. Good morning, Caleb. I used to have a very wonderful landlord who even during COVID did not take rent. Unfortunately, he died 4 years ago, and since then his wife has increased my rent every year. Charlie. Charlie. It means that for the 4 years it was kept stable, the wife was having issues with the husband. So let's increase that thing. So just yesterday, my friend's rent was increased by from 1,500 to 2. What? But that's exponential. 1,500 to 2,500. This is a serious one. The landlords are just having a field day. Jones Adoboy sent that from La. Daniel in Adenta says, good morning, Caleb. My landlord hasn't increased my rent for the chamber and hall, but maintained it at 1,150 for a year. This is what I paid last year. My rent is due on 1st April. I tell friends who are still living with their parents not to move out until it's almost necessary that they have to move out. Carrying all your savings just to pay rent for 1 year is crazy. For those rental apartments that charge in US dollars, dear. Caleb, this chaos we live in just benefits those at the top, and then they leave us to a typical Ghanaian who will bleed you of the smallest income you have because there is no deterrent. We have a so-called real estate boom, but we have all acted like ostriches and continue to act like we don't see what is happening in that field because majority of these political elites are complicit. Yet AMA will rather come and collect property tax from the landlords and our fathers and mothers. Okay, you don't want them to pay. Every few years, our so-called democratic elite try to build what they call affordable housing. So someone is going to benefit and never finish. Sigh. We are tired, Caleb. You are.
Caleb, this problem, you see, it's not a new problem.
Yeah.
It's just that, of course, with population increase and everybody coming to Accra, it aggravates the extent of the problem.
Right.
You know, so how many years ago? 1994? 1994 is how many years ago? That's like 32
Almost
34.
31, 30.
Well, I mean, 1994 is 32 years ago.
Yeah.
32.
That's when I rented my first house.
Okay.
Okay.
94.
Yes, that's when I rented my first house. Now, you talk about affordability. Okay. I get the feeling that the modern day young man, young woman doesn't have the means, but they want to dictate where they want to live. You can't afford it, but because of social media, you think that you deserve to live in Laboni, you want to live cantonments, you want to live.
You're not in touch with reality.
You understand? I mean, back then, my father didn't have a house for me to go and live in. My mother didn't own a house for me to go and live in, like some of my friends would have. Okay? And I think the situation is the same for many people.
No.
And so you are forced to look for what you can afford.
True.
That was 1994. Guess what?
2026.
The closest decent housing I could afford was in a Shonman Estates. And at that time, not many people had even heard the name Ashonman before. And it was a travel experience to Ashonman of Red Earth Road
A whole journey.
through Domi, through Kwabenya, all the way through the bushes into Ashonman Estate, where you meet rabbits on your way, you meet snakes on your way. You understand? That's what I could afford.
Yeah.
And I lived with it till I could manage to put up my own house.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
Fast forward 32 years down the line, the situation is worse off.
True.
Now, people who live in Ashonman, they even see it as luxury.
Yeah. Because others are going way further.
I'm telling you, there are people who live in Ofako. Do you know Ofako?
Kaswa Ofako.
Yeah, yes. Ofako on your way to Bojasi. And they work in Accra.
Yeah. Every morning they are.
Every morning they come to Accra. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's a bit complex that and people must now learn to approach this with a dormitory style where 2-3 friends come together, put their
Share
money
a space.
together, share a space until such a time that they can afford.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
You know, but people, they see pictures and videos and they think that they can live the life that they see in the virtual world. They want to own 3-bedroom apartment. Meanwhile, your salary cannot even outlast 1 week. And you want to go and rent a house in cantonments? Are you for real?
Are you for real? No, but still, no. We want affordable public housing. Please, let's align it to NDPC, National Development Planning. You know, let's have a focus. Let's align it to the vision. And then landlords look inside the system. And if you owe your landlord, please pay that thing. Yeah, pay. Good morning to my landlord. The irony is that he's always listening. So you'll be very happy about that this morning. You'll be very, very happy. Lawyer Gabriel, good morning. Let me tell you quickly.
This one from our friend David. He says that we have suggested that the BOG should convert every Momo account into a zero balance bank account or tie it to a bank account.
Right.
Those who Momo can identify a TIN number with tax returns are up to date. Everyone without tax returns, we should take a 3% punitive turnover tax on every Momo transfer. It forces every one Momo user to have a bank account. That's to help with formalization, as we're talking about. This way, we can follow the money.
Exactly. Track the money and widen the tax nets so we can have more social infrastructure and ease the burden on all of us. Food for thought.